Hello everyone, this is me again. Nice to be with you. Thank you very much for all the viewings of my previous videos. I hope that you will like this one too. As you noticed, today I'm without Tosia. She's with me in the room, but she's on the windowsill, catching the early spring sun. We definitely have the beginning of the spring. It's getting warmer and sunnier every day, and I love it because as much as I adore winter, I'm totally fed up with winter this year. I have enough of being freezing, of hiding under the blanket. This is it for me. I just want spring, sunny and warm weather. You can't see Tosia in today's video, but you can see my Royal Downton old balloon lady in the background. This is a wonderful gift that I received from one of the group members, Noel. Noel, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have no idea how much joy you brought to me by sending me this gift. I love porcelain figurines, and this is the best gift that I could ever receive from anyone, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. In the recent video I was giving you a review of season 1 of Downton Abbey, so naturally today is season 2. Season 2 is one of my least favorite seasons because I don't like that there are so many episodes about the war. Of course, we know that historically there was a war back then, but I'm a pacifist, peace. I hate wars of any kind, so this is probably the reason why I don't like season 2 very much. But it's wonderful for the story because we have a lot of development of characters, of different interesting situations. So today I will try to give you a few words about each particular episode. So let's start from episode 1. In episode 1 we find out that the war is going on, and if I remember correctly, episode 1 of season 2 starts at the year 1916, so that was like the middle of the war. So luckily I'm very happy that we didn't get to go through the whole war from the beginning till the end. We only have 5 or 6 episodes of the season which is about the war, and to tell you the truth, when I watch season 2, I'm always look forward to the episodes which are already not about the war. But let's go back to episode 1. In episode 1, when we know that there is a war going on, we are being introduced to new characters like Ethel. I will give a few words about Ethel later. We know that Matthew is serving in the war. We find out that he's engaged to Miss Lavinia Squire, which we later meet in the same episode. Lavinia is a very nice girl. She has a little small role for a few episodes. She's crying a lot through the series, and I already told you that I'm not a big fan of women who cry a lot, but that's okay. I think that Fellows created her as a polar opposite to Mary. So we see that Mary is handling very well all her life difficulties, and Lavinia is not. Lavinia is not as strong as Mary. She was the polar opposite, and I think that this was the reason why Matthew chose her to be his fiancée. So in episode 1, we also have a very interesting plot with Sybil, who feels very left out from the whole war effort, and she feels that she wants to do something for her country. So she decides to become a nurse, which is a wonderful thing. And as we later find out, she's becoming a very dedicated nurse. So this was one of the better plots of episode 1. Let's go to episode 2. In episode 2, some set events connected to this character, Lieutenant Courtney, if I remember correctly, make Downton people realize that they cannot be totally out of the whole war. So they decide to create a convalescent home at Downton Abbey. Of course, there are some people like Violet or Robert who are more against it, and there are people like Sybil or Cora who are more for this solution. So in episode 2 we already know that there's going to be a convalescent home at Downton Abbey. And again, I'm not a fan of the episodes with the convalescent home. I felt that it took like the magic out from Downton Abbey, because for me Downton Abbey is a home. It's a castle, it's a beautiful castle. But for me, I always felt that it's a family home. So transferring it into a hospital with lots of strangers wandering around the house. I'm with Violet and with Carson here. I don't like it at all. This is not something that I enjoy. But fortunately we only have this for like few episodes, and there are some interesting plots connected with the convalescent home. Then we have in episode 2 we have Edith, who just like Sybil feels that she wants to do something more, that she wants to be useful, that she's bored with the whole, sitting at the sofa or chaise longue. And Edith wants to be useful, so she first we see when Tom, I'm just smiling here because this is a funny plot. We see as Tom is learning her how to drive a car, and we see that it was a very rocky road, but at the end she finally learns how to drive, and she decides to help the farmer Mr. Drake and his wife by driving the tractor. And as we see, there is something going on between Mr. Drake and Edith. I didn't like this plot very much, but I think that it was important because it showed how much Edith wanted to be in love for any cost. She would be willing to have a relationship with a married man just to be loved. Because we get to see from the beginning of the show that whilst Mary and Sybil are popular among men, especially Mary, Edith is not. Because we were to believe that Edith is the ugly sister and stuff like that. I never believed it, because I think that Laura Carmichael is a beautiful woman. As beautiful as Michelle Dockery and as beautiful as Jessica Brown Findlay. They are all very lovely. But this was the the plot of the show. We were supposed to believe that Edith is ugly, unlovable, not interesting. That is very far from the truth, but this is what we were supposed to believe. So we see a little short story about Mr. Drake and Edith. But this ends very quickly as the wife of the farmer notices what's going on between her husband and Edith, and she says thank you for the service to Edith, and this whole plot ends very quickly. Then we have episode 3. In all these episodes, which I don't like very much, about the war and convalescent home, episode 3 is wonderful. This is my favorite episode of season 2. In episode 3 there's so much going on in episode 3. Most of all, there is a start of the convalescent home in Downton. We see at the beginning of the episode when everything is being prepared for the invasion, as they are calling it this way, the invasion. we see that servants are preparing all the rooms for the arrival of the soldiers. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the whole series, and I've already told you about it a few times. I love this scene when we see that the house is being prepared. I love how we see emotions on Robert's face, Cora's face, and I love the scene when they are walking together, Robert, Cora, Edith, and Sybil. Of course, Mary is absent, because to quote Robert, Mary wasn't doing much during the war. So we see almost all the family going through the main hall to greet the soldiers who are just coming to Downton. And then we have another great scene in this episode, which I just simply adore. There is a quarrel between Robert and Isabel, and Cora and Dr. Clarkson are also present in the room, and they are having a big fight about the convalescent home, how to arrange everything so it would work properly. And in the meantime, Mary comes with the news that her friend Evelyn Napier would like to visit Downton, and Robert says that he can come and visit them, and Isabel and Dr. Clarkson are very much against it. And Robert gets one of his famous angry outbursts, and he tells them that after all it's their home and they will decide who can visit and who cannot visit. And I love how, because I like Isabel, but she was intolerable in season 2. Intolerable. She was just horrible. So she was being beautifully put into her place by Robert. And I love Cora's face when Robert is just telling Isabel how it's going to work. And then there is a mention of Isis. And again, Robert tells Isabel that Isis can be whatever she wants because this is her home. And I simply love this scene. Then we have an interesting plot with Tom trying to kill the general who is coming to visit Downton Abbey. The whole plot with the general visiting Downton Abbey is very interesting as well. And I love the moment where General is being told by the soldiers, because I forgot to mention, with the convalescent home coming to Downton, we see a new face of Edith, who wants to feel needed, and she's finding her through call, and she's helping the soldiers with all the things that are non-medical. And I love this idea of Edith being helpful, but of course, as always in Edith's case, nobody notices it. They need a strange person coming to the house. The general is being informed by the soldiers who are there that Edith is being extremely helpful, and he mentions it during the dinner, and they are raising a toast for Edith, and this is wonderful. I love this scene. Then we have famous episode 4, and in episode 4 there is very much, the plot is being centered on Ethel. I don't like Ethel. I think that she is one of those people who think that they owe everything. Just because she's young and pretty, she's supposed to have all the best. I don't like her. I think that she's very entitled, and I don't like entitled people. I like people who are working hard to achieve their goal. I don't like people who want to take shortcuts because they think that they are so great and wonderful that they own everything. I will talk about this more when I will make another video concerning the royal family, so I will talk about it then. So we see Major Bryant and Ethel. from the beginning, Ethel had a crush, some kind of a crush on Major Bryant. And even though she was warned by everyone, by Edith, by Mrs. Hughes, by Anna, she decided to go to bed with him. And Mr. Mosley noticed that there was an officer at this lady's servant's wing, and he informed Mrs. Hughes about it. And then we have the wonderful scene where Mrs. Hughes is catching Ethel and Major Bryant in bed. I love her in this scene. I love Mrs. Hughes. I just crazily love her. So Mrs. Hughes entering and being the boss, this is the great scene. And I think that Ethel fully deserved to lose her job. And she did. But if I remember correctly, yes, that was the same episode, because in episode 4 we also have this famous concert for the soldiers. And during that concert, Matthew and William, who were lost and they didn't know if they are alive or not, are coming back to Downton, and everyone finds out that they are okay. So this was a great episode. And by the end of the episode, we see that Ethel came to Mrs. Hughes and that she's pregnant, and she asks for help. Oh, sorry. In all this confusion, I forgot to mention the Bates plot, because in episode 1, we see Vera, first wife of Bates, who comes to Downton, and she is blackmailing Bates. She is threatening that she will reveal the Mary scandal, the Pamuk scandal, and she forces Bates to quit his job, to leave Downton, and to go away. And Robert is very angry, but he later finds out that this was the plot by Bates's ex-wife, and he asks Bates to go back to Downton, and Bates is coming back to Downton. And I have to say that the actress who played Vera, she's a wonderful actress. She's a villain in Downton Abbey, but I think that she played this role beautifully. So this is just a few words from me. Then we have episode 5. Episode 5 is a very heavy episode because Matthew and William are being injured. They are being taken back to the Downton Hospital. We know that William is dying, that he will die soon. So Edith decides to take care of him in his last days, whilst Matthew is very severely injured, and they are being afraid that he won't be able to walk again, and that he won't be able to have children. So this is the really I really don't like this episode. I like the beginning scene of this episode because we see the battle in which Matthew and William are getting hurt, and we see Mary and Daisy having a precognition. I'm a stronger believer in precognitions because I have the gift myself. So I think that this meant that Mary and Daisy had a very close relationship with William and Matthew if they could feel from afar that they were in danger. So this is it. So episode 5 is really heavy. There isn't much that is fun or to watch about episode 5. Then we have episode 6, where we find out that the war is being over, and we have all this funny plot with Violet, who tries to stop Isabel, who wants Downton to stay some kind of hospital and convalescent home, and of course Violet and Cora want to get Downton back as just a family home. So we have this very funny plot where Violet tries to push Isabel into something else, so she wouldn't want to, influence on the future of Downton. We are finding out that the war is being over. We have all this touching ceremony of the war being over. We have a fake Patrick episode, and like most of you, I believe that fake Patrick was really fake. He was just an imposter. I believe so because he was simply, he ran away. He didn't. If he was the real Patrick, he would have waited for this investigation about him was over, and he just ran away. Earlier, he tried to convince Edith because Edith, as we know, was in love with Patrick, so she was, the easy target. And at the end of episode, we see Patrick just walking away. And one of my absolute favorite episodes, sorry, not episodes, plots about episode 6, is that the whole thing with Carson, because we find out that Carson was about to walk away from Downton to work at Hagsby because Lady Mary asked him to. And for like episode or two, we know that Carson will leave Downton to work for Lady Mary and Sir Richard. And I hated it. I literally hated it because Carson belongs to Downton Abbey and Mrs. Hughes. No matter how much he adores Mary or how much she claims to be fond of him, which I don't think it's the whole truth, but I will talk about it in some other time, Carson should stay in Downton. And in episode 6, luckily, because Anna was asked by Sir Richard to spy on Lady Mary, she tells that to Carson and Mrs. Hughes, and Carson decides to stay at Downton. And I sighed with relief when I was watching the series for the first time, because really, I couldn't imagine Downton Abbey without Carson. They belong together. Downton Abbey and Carson belong together. So this is like the joyous moment of episode 6. And also, I like this episode because this is the last episode connected with war and convalescent home. Then we have episode 7. And in the beginning of episode 7, we see that the last cars with the equipment are going away from Downton, and the whole castle is coming back to being just family home. And I was happy about it very much. Episode 7. In episode 7, we already have a maid, Jane, who is somehow flirting with Robert, or he's flirting with her. I don't want to place the blame. I think that they were both wrong for being attracted to each other, but that happens. This is life. And my very favorite plot about episode 7 is that we get to see that Ethel wants to get some help because she already has a baby. Mrs. Hughes was helping her for a while, trying to feed her and the baby, but she's not able to take care of her son Charlie as she should. So she asks Mrs. Hughes to ask the Bryans who are there to visit Downton for help. She wants them to meet Charlie. And we have the Bryans coming to Downton, and we see that Mrs. Bryant is a very nice lady, while Mr. Bryant is an awful man. The funny thing is that Mr. Bryant in real life is Phyllis Logan, Mrs. Hughes' husband. And I didn't know that when I first watched Downton Abbey. I wasn't aware that they are married in real life. And when I later found out about it, it was very amusing to see their screen interaction, because all the smiles and all the meaningful looks, that gained new meaning when I already knew that Phyllis Logan and Kevin McNally are married in real life. I love when Mrs. Hughes says about Mr. Bryant, he's a real bully. That was fun. That was really funny. And then we have very meaningful episodes. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. In episode 7, we also have Sybil trying to elope with Tom, because from the beginning of season 2, we see Tom trying to convince Sybil that they should get married, they should be together, they should elope and stuff like that, and Sybil is not convinced. I don't think that Sybil was in love with Tom, no matter what other people say. I didn't see a big love there, and her line saying to Tom, "I'm ready to travel and you're my ticket," has not convinced me that this was big love. I think that Sybil wanted to live a different life, and in fact, when she married Tom, she was living a very different life. Was it a better life? I don't think so. But if she was happy, that was her choice. So we see Sybil trying to elope with Tom, but Mary and Edith found out and they are stopping her. And then we have episode 8, which is loaded with events. There's so much going on again in episode 8. We are supposed to see a wedding of Matthew and Lavinia. And this whole is being stopped when there is a Spanish flu epidemic in Downton. And of course this was totally unrealistic, because if there was an actual epidemic in Downton Abbey, I don't think that only 3 people would become ill, and we only have Lavinia, Cora, and Mr. Carson being ill. And of course, Lavinia dies. Cora was being so ill that for a moment we thought that we lost her, but she survived because she was, the main character. And Lavinia dies because it's convenient for Mary and Matthew to be together. I like of course, I don't know if I can say this, but I like the scene of Lavinia's death, especially when we see her from above, because I think that this was kind of a metaphor that her soul left her body and she was looking at everyone from above. I think this was a metaphor. We also have a wedding of Anna and Mr. Bates, because by the end of episode 7, we found out that Vera, Bates' first wife, committed a suicide. So we have Anna and Bates decide to get married. I mean, Anna insists on that because she feels that there might be some legal problems for Mr. Bates connected to the death of Vera. So we have a beautiful, very, very modest but beautiful wedding of Bates and Anna, and we see a glimpse of their wedding night. Some of the people were very, outraged that we saw such open sex scene, but I don't really mind about that. And what we also have in episode 8 is that Sybil is telling the family that she decided to marry Tom, and there is a very, again, angry outburst from Robert. What's new? But slowly the whole family decides to just accept the fact that Sybil wants a different life in different place. And the whole episode ends with this famous scene where they are coming back after Lavinia's funeral and Mr. Bates is being arrested. And finally we have the Christmas special, episode 9 and 10. There is also a lot of going on in this episode, And what I liked the most about this episode is that the downstairs people were playing a Ouija board. This was very interesting. Of course, I still think that a Ouija board is not a toy. You should definitely not play with it, because you can evoke some very dark powers. You can believe me or not, but there was a time in my life when I was trying to play with the things that are not to be played with, and I paid a high price for that. So this is just a warning for you. But in episode 9, we see a lot about Sir Richard. I never mentioned Sir Richard before, but Mary is engaged to Sir Richard because, of course, she had to be When Matthew announced that he's engaged to Lavinia, Mary, of course, couldn't be worse, so she had to be engaged with Sir Richard. Plus, she wanted to, cover the Pamuk scandal. Sir Richard is a very complex character. I'm not going to get into details because this video would have to last even longer than it already does. But we see the development and the end of the relationship between Mary and Carlisle. And Robert convinces Mary to end this relationship, which she feels trapped in. So this is one of the main, plots in this episode. Of course, we have Bates trial. This was like, wow, this is the moment where I think the show, the Downton Abbey, was the most famous. I know that there were people, wearing t-shirts like Free Mr. Bates. And we see this horrible trial which sentenced Bates to death, but then the trial is being reversed, luckily. But there is a whole anticipation of what's going to happen to Mr. Bates. We see devastated Anna, and there's really a lot going on in this episode. And by the end of episode, we have this beautiful servants' ball, which is lovely. I love all the scenes in Downton Abbey where downstairs people are having fun. So we have this. And of course, the last episode of the season ends with a beautiful scene of Matthew and Mary's proposal. I'm not a fan of Mary, you know that. I don't like Mary. I'm not a particular fan of the relationship between Mary and Matthew, but I have to admit that the proposal scene was really lovely. If you can just think about anything more romantic than the proposal in the falling snow, I couldn't think of anything more romantic. So, as much as I'm not Mary and Matthew's fan, I definitely loved this scene. So, again, long video, but I had to, give you a glimpse of every episode, and there's a lot of going on in season 2, and that's why this video was so long. I hope that I didn't bore you to that, and I will see you soon. Bye!